Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us today from across the globe. It's wonderful to have you all here. I hope I am audible. Could you please give a quick thumbs up or a reaction to confirm? Great. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome to our webinar on understanding Omnibus technical regulation under BIS-Scheme X for heavy machinery products in India. My name is Abhinav Negi, and I'm delighted to be your moderator for today's session. I lead regional business development efforts at Vincular, and I'm thrilled to be guiding you through this crucial discussion on India's product conformity and registration ecosystem. We have an insightful agenda and expert speakers with us today who will walk you through the BIS OTR regulatory framework, which is part of the Scheme X, essential for manufacturers of industrial and construction equipment seeking market access in India. So without further delay, let's dive right in. Next slide, please. For those of you joining us for the first time, let me start with a quick introduction to Vincular. I hope the screen is visible to everyone. Can you please give me a thumbs up to confirm? Thank you. So Vincular began its journey in 2012 and today stands as India's leading regulatory compliance consulting firm. We work with global and domestic manufacturers, helping them navigate India's complex regulatory maze with ease. We not only act as your extended regulatory arm in the country, but also work as a solution provider to all your regulatory entanglements with various government regulators and departments. In a nutshell, Vincular make compliance easy for you to understand. Next slide, please. So our services cover regulatory strategy, certification advisory, risk assessment, documentation and testing coordination, ongoing compliance management. So we support a wide spectrum of products, including heavy electrical equipment, industrial machinery, electronics, telecom, and more. Whether it's BIS, WPC, TEC, or other statutory approvals, we offer a one-stop solution. And yes, today's presentation deck and the webinar recording will be shared with all the attendees post-session. Next slide, please. Now let's quickly look at what we'll cover in today's session. India's industrial sector, particularly in areas like manufacture, infrastructure, energy, and construction, is increasingly reliant on safe, compliant, heavy machinery. The Bureau of Indian Standards, or BIS, under its Scheme X and OTR routes, mandates certification and testing for select categories of such equipment. Today's agenda includes the overview of BIS Scheme X, what it covers, how it applies to heavy machinery, process flow, the factory audit, sample testing, marking and validity, introduction to OTR, Omnibus Technical Regulation Scheme, documentation, timelines and challenges for manufacturers, common pitfalls and how to avoid rejection, recent updates and notifications from BIS, and why Vincular, how we enable faster and error-free certifications. A reminder, use the Q&A tab on your screen to submit your questions. Our team is actively monitoring and will address them live. Also, please check the chat box for useful links. like Vincular's latest blog post on BIS certification for industrial goods and other key domains. Follow us on LinkedIn and other social media platforms so never miss an important update again. Also, you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter to stay updated with the latest in regulatory news, certification updates, and compliance insights. Next slide, please. I must say, the panel we have picked for today's discussion is tailor-picked to best introduce OTR framework, keeping in mind the complexities of the topic. Now, let me introduce our distinguished speakers for the day. Mr. Verghese Joy. Mr. Verghese Joy, a seasoned professional, concluded his nearly 4-decade-long career at BIS, where he played a crucial role in diverse activities. His extensive expertise spans various product certification schemes and system certifications with a focus on products such as switchgears and others. Specifically trained in electrical products, testing at CPRI laboratories by BIS, Mr. Verghese was instrumental in formulating policies during the mandatory certification of transformers introduction. Additionally, he spearheaded the implementation of the smart paperless registration system at BIS, significantly benefiting both the industry and the organization. Before his retirement, Mr. Verghese successfully launched the smart registration system and played a pivotal role in streamlining the management system certification at BIS, introducing several innovative schemes during his tenure. Furthermore, he represented India in ISO committees, contributing to the formulation of international standards. Mr. Verghese holds a degree in electrical engineering and a postgraduate diploma in business management. I welcome you, Mr. Verghese. Next slide, please. Next, we have Mr. Gaurav Kumar, a senior manager at Vincular, who brings over 10 years of experience in product compliance services. In his role, he is tasked with the efficient oversight of diverse business units, including ISI Mark Certification Scheme, Scheme X, waste management, public policy and licensing, legal metrology, and PESO, among others. Gaurav holds a degree in electronics and communication engineering and has completed his MBA in operations management. I also welcome you, Mr. Gaurav. Next slide, please. Now, to begin today's deep dive into India's regulatory framework for heavy machinery, I'd like to invite our first speaker, Mr. Gaurav Kumar. Mr. Gaurav Kumar, Senior Manager, Project Control at Vincular Testing Labs. He will take us through the compliance model under BIS-Scheme X and the Omnibus Technical Regulation Framework, helping us understand the certification process, documentation needs, and key industry obligations. Over to you, Mr. Gaurav.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Abhinav, for the introduction and handing over to me. I hope that I'm audible to all of you. If you can just give me a thumbs up, that would be really great. Okay, thank you for the confirmation. So now, before moving ahead with all the nitty-gritties, all the topics just now mentioned in this slide, let me make you understand few of the key terminologies, few of the important stakeholders whose name I'm gonna use it in my presentation very frequently. So it is important to understand all those stakeholders, all those terminologies first, followed by understanding of the detailed OTR framework. So with this, let's get started. Can we have a next slide, please? Next slide. So introduction to BIS. So it is equally important to understand BIS is the national standards body of the country. The full form is Bureau of Indian Standards. So they are entitled with various responsibilities, be it standards formulation, be it rolling out various certification scheme, be it creating awareness campaigns across country and outside the country with respect to the safety mark, with respect to the standard mark which BIS carries. So they are basically responsible for creating a quality centric ecosystem within the country. If you will see the last bullet point, so BIS has developed almost more than 23,000 plus standards across different verticals, including a range of domestic and industrial products. Even they have a standard for the services, hospitalities. In all the sectors, BIS has set up standards, do's and don'ts, national building codes for green buildings and whatnot. So it is equally important to understand the role of BIS in totality. Next, please. Now, let's understand few of the important certification schemes run by BIS. So one is the ISI mark scheme, or also called as Scheme 1, which is one of the oldest certification scheme of the country. It has almost all the products, or I would say majority of the products falls under the ambit of this scheme one only, whether it is textile, whether it is chemical, whether it is toys, hard lines, soft line, household, kitchen appliances and whatnot. Everything comes under the ambit of scheme one. If I moved, the specialty of Scheme 1 is this involves the on-site factory audit. So it is very important that Scheme 1 involves on-site factory audit. If I move to Scheme 2, the basic difference is this scheme doesn't calls for factory audit, or I would say this is a self-declaration certification scheme. The products which is covered under this is majorly electronics and IT goods, maybe mobile phone, printer, plotter, scanner, tablet, automatic data processing machines, etc. are few of the products which is covered under scheme 2. Then we do have BIS hallmarking scheme. So hallmarking scheme also is like majorly for the gold jewelry and ornaments, so nothing to do with any electrical or electronic products. Then comes the topic of the day, which is scheme X and OTR. So scheme X is majorly covering the products like switch gears and control gears, like proximity switches, sensors, and few other products, circuit breakers and whatnot, fuse, etc. covers under scheme X. And then we do have another recently rolled out scheme called OTR, electrical and equipment machinery and electrical equipment order 2024, and also known as Omnibus technical regulation, which majorly covers different type of machines and sub machines, sub assemblies and components. So basically we have to understand, when we go with the definition of the machine is nothing but the subset of different set of machines only. So let's say for me, a mobile phone is a machine, but when any supplier who is only dealing with the chipset of that mobile phone or chipset of that any control unit, so for them that is a machine. So the definition of machine varies from supplier to supplier, and that is why this OTR framework covers the assemblies, sub assemblies and components as well. So let's get the detailing of the OTR framework. Next slide, please. So quality control orders. So from last few years, this keyword is very important with respect to the India regulatory requirements, quality control order. So that is the intent when Government of India thinks to mandate any products under the ambit of mandatory certification or compulsory certification, then they first go with the draft quality control orders. That draft quality control order is nothing but showing the intention of the government that yes, we are willing to bring so and so products under the ambit of mandatory certification requirement. And that draft quality control order is also for the awareness of all the stakeholder, also for the sensitizing the stakeholders that yes, so and so product is soon going to be mandatory. And then comes with the formal gadget notification, or you can say the formal quality control orders, where the said product will be in the mandatory certification list, and they do highlight certain timelines with the same, and that timeline would be maybe 6 months or maximum 12 months would be the cutoff date from where the said product is going to be mandatory. And once any product gets into the mandatory list, then you are only about to sell or import that product as long as you have a valid BIS license and your product is having a valid BIS standard mark on the product. Okay, next please. Now let's understand the topic, the main topic, I would say, machinery and electrical equipment, OTR Order 2024. So the responsible ministry for this order, or I would say the line ministry responsible for this, is Ministry of Heavy Industries, Government of India. The said order was released on 28th August 2024, and industry has been given a 1 year timeline to get themselves complied with the regulation, which means the implementation date is 28th August 2025. Now, if I talk about what type of products is this order basically covers, so like a few of the products you can see: pumps, compressors, generators, transformers, etc. are the high level categories which this order basically covers. And this order equally applies to the assemblies, sub-assemblies, and the components. This point is very, very important to understand. And all the product categories has also been mapped with certain HSN code. And this HSN code is volatile in nature as per the inputs received from the BIS side. They may add a few more HSN codes as things will evolve in near future, so that there should not be any confusion, and this orders mapping would majorly be based on the HSN codes. And there are certain exemptions. So if anything is for the CMVR purpose, Central Motor Vehicle Rules 126, basically for the automotive purpose, then this order would not be applicable. And if anything to be imported purely for the export purpose, not to be consumed, not to be sold within the Indian territory, then this particular order would not be applicable to them. Next, please. So certifying authority, I believe there is no second thought. We all know BIS is the certifying authority or the implementation body who is liable to get this product or get the products under this scheme to be implemented effectively or smoothly. Market surveillance is also very important to understand. So whenever BIS have substantial amount of products under the particular scheme, they do carry out the market surveillance, and this market surveillance is a random check, a random testing and compliance evaluation to be done to ensure that whatever being declared in the beginning at the time of getting the license, are suppliers, manufacturers following the same quality norms at the time of marketing the product, at the time of commercializing the product or not? Then we do have the penalties that if any one is for non-compliance in certain aspects, then certain non-conformities would attract, and then it involves the penalties as per the BIS Act 2016 and their subsequent amendments made in 2018 and thereafter. Next. Now, introduction to the OTR order. So I would just like to give you a small heads up. So the detailing or the technicalities, series formation, series grouping, how the technical file has to be prepared, all these things will be taken care by my fellow presenter, Mr. Joy Varghese. He will take you with that. I'll be focusing on the process, the implementation, the certification, timeline, documentation requirement only, and other technical nitty-gritties will be taken care by Mr. Joy Varghese. So the entire OTR framework has been divided into three segments, and they divided into schedules, first, second, and third schedule. And all these schedules lined up with certain types of standards. So type A, type B, and type C. So if I say type A is basically for the risk assessment standard, and the compliance has to be followed as per IS 16819 or their corresponding ISO 12100 standard. Similarly, type B is for the generic safety for the machineries, and type C is for the individual machines safety only. Now, very important and very common doubts many of the audiences may have, that if my products may fall under type A, type B, and type C standard, then against which type the license has to be issued. So if this is the case where type A, type B, and type C in all categories, any particular products are getting covered, then license has to be issued as per type C standard. On the other side, if any particular product is in listed in type A and type B, then license has to be issued as per type B standard. And if any product is in type A, then license has to be issued in type A standard only. Next, please. So this is the same explanation. I would not going into detail considering the interest of time. Next, please. So these are the list of products majorly linked with certain HSN codes for your reference. So like if I go with serial number 7, you can see all type of machineries for construction, earth moving, mining. Similarly, various type of metal cutting machines, CNC machines, textile manufacturing machines, pump manufacturing machines. So they categorize into different nomenclatures, and that's what you can see here. So total there are 20 categories, so these are 10. If I go to the next slide, you will find another 10 categories. Can we have the next slide, please? Yeah, so here you will find another remaining 10 categories with the description. Next, please. Now, process for grant of license. So very important, before giving you the process, brief about the process flow chart and the timelines and other things, let me give you a brief about the last stakeholder consultation meeting organized by Ministry of Heavy Industries in the last week of April 2025. To be precise, it was on 29th of April 2025. So in that stakeholder consultation, MHI, which is the responsible line ministry, has formulated 7 subcommittees who can work specific to certain set of categories. For example, one committee was meant for printing machineries, one committee was for the textile machinery, one committee was for the pumps machinery. So different committees were formed, and their job is to work on the guidance document. Their job is to work on the FAQs, coverage or non-coverage, the doubts to be clarified, what are the technical nitty-gritties with respect to the companies whose products are falling under this regulation. So they are being given this leverage to work on all the nitty-gritties, and probably they will come back with all the assessment, and basis on the same, we may expect a detailed comprehensive guidance document from the BIS side with respect to this entire order. So right now, whatever I'm going to tell you, that is based on the inputs we received, that is based on the understanding we have so far, and this may change little bit here and there, but more or less the framework will remain the same. Also, in that stakeholder consultation, BIS has also run a separate pre-assessment survey link where they rolled out a Google form just to check that how the response is overall with respect to this particular order. So till April 2025, there were approx 500 manufacturers from the domestic factory within India who has shown their interest to comply with the said regulation. And there were around 1100 plus foreign suppliers who has shown their willingness to comply with the said regulation. So overall, the response is quite positive, and once the detailed or more clarities will be given, I'm sure the people or the companies will go for the licensing. Also, two more important points. We all know that so far the labs are not there in this particular scheme. So for that, the knowledge partner of the MHI is CMTI, Central Manufacturing Technology Institute. So they had offered that they have their referral laboratories pan India, and those referral laboratories can be utilized for such testings other than the in-house testing options available in the said order. And that option has not yet concluded, but this is also one of the way when ministry may think of. Also, the last point before going to the process flow chart is there would be the possibility that soon the online portal of implementing this scheme effectively may go live. So this may take couple of more weeks, but as per the last MOM, it was supposed to be live by 1st of June. So we will keep a close eye, and as soon as the portal will be live, we'll keep you updated. Now let's get back to this process flow chart and the timeline. So in general, the timeline is like roughly between 5 to 6 or 6 to 7 months. And the bifurcation of this timeline you can see here in the different steps. So we have divided the entire process into 7 steps or milestones. So step number would be application preparation along with the test report. So in the current scenario when there is no lab available, so we left with the option is like application file has to be prepared, the technical file has to be ready along with the in-house test report. Once all these things will be ready, then filing up the application. Once application will be submitted, then it will go with the scrutiny of the documents. In scrutiny, maybe BIS officer may come back with certain doubts, may come back with certain clarifications, and we being the applicant have to respond those with whatever possible answer we may be having it. Once the satisfactory responses will be given, then in step number 4, the appointment of the audit officer will be done, where one officer who will be the subject matter expert of this particular topic will be given the responsibility to carrying out the factory visit, to carrying out the factory inspection. Now, this factory inspection will be done on site at the factory location in step number 5, where let's say if factory is in, for example, is in Germany, is in South Korea, is in Italy or anywhere. So officer will fly down to that factory location, will spend some days there to check the overall validation of the factory's claim in the form of the documentation, will check the manufacturing facility, will check the testing infrastructure, will check the testing capabilities as per the Indian standard, and that's how the audit will be concluded. Now, the one point or one clarity you many of the audiences may be expecting that the audit would be for how many days. So unlike to ISI certification scheme where the audit is usually 2 working days, here the number of days may get increased if we go with the in-house test report option. Why? Because officer may have to spend some time to validate, to witness, to visualize all those tests satisfactorily, and then only the audit would be considered as concluded. But those clarities may expect in the guidance document from the BI side soon. After audit, if there are any queries, if there are any concerns or gaps identified by the audit officer, then we being the applicant have to fulfill those gaps, and that's how the license will be issued, either grant of license or certificate of conformity. So for everybody's reference, certificate of conformity option do exist here, but again, the detailing of the same is yet to come, and this COC is applicable to all those factories, all those applicants who is thinking that, okay, my import to India would be, let's say, one time only, let's say very minimalistic. So I may go with the per import basis COC. So that option is basically for those applicants who are very limited in terms of shipping the goods to India market. Next, please. So similarly, we do have a separate flow chart for the domestic manufacturers. So more or less, the process remains the same. Nothing changed. They have introduced a profile creation option in the beginning, and then more or less all the process remains the same. But yes, the timeline of the license in terms of the domestic manufacturers is significantly less, significantly on a lower side, considering the ease of doing business which government of India wanted to extend to the domestic players mainly. Next, please. These are the documents certification process. Again, they have pointed out in the generic way. So since we have covered in a flow chart method, so not required to cover in the interest of time. Later we shall share you the presentation deck, so there also you can refer all these things. Next, please. So same process flow for the foreign applicants, they again highlighted in the bullet points. We can skip this. These are the additional requirement for foreign manufacturers only. So as so far, since there is no online portal, so all the documentation must be submitted in hard copies only. The manufacturers must nominate a authorized Indian representative. So all those factories who don't have a branch office or license office in India, so they have to nominate a authorized Indian representative, any third party entity who can take the ownership, who can take the responsibility that tomorrow, once your product will be commercialized, and if anything goes wrong, if any technical hazard, if any accident happened because of your products, so the AIR, the authorized Indian representative, may be called for explanation, will be the first level responder on behalf of the factory. After the license, foreign manufacturers also have to provide an agreement of license, an indemnity bond, and a performance bank guarantee of US dollars 10,000 rupees. So this is important again. US dollars 10,000 is a security money that if any accident happens, if any non-compliance being observed, which can be a life-threatening, BIS reserves the right to forfeit this money to compensate that hazard. And also one important point that with respect to the foreign factories, foreign applicants, all government fees, all transactions has to be done in US dollars only. We cannot make the transaction in another currencies. Next, please. Now, these are the documents requirements. So the detailing of the same will be done through my fellow presenter, but I'll just touch base like product technical file, ISO quality management certificates, business license. So like business license is something legal document for the establishment of the factory at that particular location. So we would be needing in native language as well as the English translation. Then few declaration would be required. Now in technical file, what things to be captured? So product description, the specific type based on the product's information, whether it is in type A, type B, or type C. Photographs of the product for the identification, manufacturer's name, address, their location map, their plant layout, their manufacturing machineries, raw materials, their storage area, their finished product area, their testing laboratory area, all those things, all the details has to be captured in the technical file. Next, please. Similarly, detail for identification and traceability of products. So like this is equally important. For example, tomorrow any particular lot which is like having non-compliance, which is like having certain challenges with respect to the Indian standard, then how would anybody going to trace that lot which is manufactured maybe let's say week this to week this? So for that, the traceability of the product is very important. the batch code, some sort of serial number has to be there so that that particular lot can be traced and can be called out for the necessary correction. Then comes detail of design of the products, their wiring diagrams, their manufacturing process, their risk assessment sheet as per Indian standard 1681 line, like complied, non-complied, all those check marks has to be made. Similarly, there are so many other documents against which we have to fulfill the requirements. Next slide, please. Then comes the testing labs and license validity. So as I already mentioned you, right now there is no testing lab available. Also, it is in some of the products, it is very, very difficult to bring those products to India for just getting the testing done. For example, if I have a earth moving instrument or a crane like structure, then it is very difficult to bring this to India just for the testing purpose. And overall, the orders to be placed from India side is like 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 5, 10 pieces only. So it is not practically feasible to bring those products to India for the BIS approved laboratories testing. So that is how the concept of in-house test reports acceptance is there. But yes, BIS will also give more clarity in times to come with respect to the acceptance of the test report from BIS approved laboratory completely or can be outsourced through factories in-house laboratory. But the regulation do mentions about the same. With respect to the initial validity of the license, it would be either minimum 3 years or maximum 6 years, depending on the government fee which we make. At the time of renewal of the license, you can further renew it again between 3 to 6 years, depending on the fee which we make while making the renewal of the license. Next, please. Now, these are few of the fee structure what BIS has notified. You will find the fees against each of the line item both in Indian rupees as well as in the USD for your reference. So you can refer it later while we will sharing you this presentation deck. Next. Guidelines for use of standard mark. So similar to CRS, we do have a standard mark guidance to be used. So on the top, you will find the standard number, and on the bottom, you will find the license number initialized with L only, not CML. Only L dash whatever be the license number be issued from the BI side. So that has to be there on the products, which will somehow show a validation that yes, said product, whatever being placed in the India market, is complied with the BIS regulation or the requirements. Now, next. These are the scope of work. So like if anything will be given to us, so we'll be responsible for managing the end-to-end certification, right from evaluation, testing, application preparation, filing, certification, audit, everything till getting the license. So our scope would be right from the assessment till granting the license, including any clarification, any clarities to be given from the laboratory side, from the technical perspective, from the BI side, everything will be our scope of work. And that's how the dedicated team will be going to support you with the entire certification process. So with this, I think I have done with my bit. Now I would like to hand it over to my moderator, Mr. Abhinav Negi. He will take up the session to the next step. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gaurav, for that detailed and practical walkthrough of the OTR regime and the key compliance requirements for manufacturers. Now, before I move forward, I would like to address that the learned attendees in the chat box has pointed out that the correct pronunciation for the scheme is Scheme 10 rather than Scheme X. So yeah, just correct. So addressing that, I would like to move forward with this session. Now, I'm confident that our attendees have gained valuable insights into navigating this evolving regulatory space. I am again reiterating for attendees joining us little late that today's presentation deck and the webinar recording will be shared with all the attendees post session. With that solid foundation laid, now let me move to the second half of our technical session. It is my privilege to introduce Mr. Verghese Joy, former scientist G and DDG at the Bureau of Indian Standards. Mr. Joy brings decades of experience from within India's Standardization Authority, and today he will take us through a comprehensive technical interpretation of the regulation. Over to you, Mr. Verghese.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Hi, everyone. I am Verghese Joy, former scientist G and DDG BIS. Hope I am audible to you. If yes, can you give a confirmation by giving a thumbs up? I hope it's audible to all of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Thank you. You must be aware that the QC has been issued by Government of India almost a year back. And after that, no other guidelines have been issued by BIS on the implementation of this one, except for the guidelines of Scheme 10. To me, this QCO is slightly different compared to the earlier QCOs issued by the various ministries because of some reasons. And I will try to tell you why I felt it is slightly different from the other QCOs. There is always an anxiety among the concerned people regarding the implementation as the date approaches. The anxiety is for two reasons. One, the uncertainty of approach, what we need to take. The second, how can we comply so that the business goes without any hurdles. For this reason, we are attempting a basic outline of the process based on our knowledge and experience. And I emphasize that this speech or this lecture is based on my understanding, and we are trying to give you an advanced information that how BAS guidelines may follow in future so that you get prepared and you will be ready for applying for this certification. I once again say my presentation today, which I am making purely based on my understanding and knowledge. And as I told you earlier, to help people to build the technical file, which is the most crucial part of the documentation. Today, I will try to cover basic information about the QC orders. What is this Omnibus technical regulation? Why it is called Omnibus? Why it is different from the other orders issued earlier? What are the legal implications and where from the Government of India derived the authority? What is to be done by the manufacturer? How to build a technical file? How to identify the requirements and criteria of requirements, computing the risk, and finally creating a safety matrix. Next slide. As I told you earlier, whenever any quality control is issued or notified, the most important aspect which can come to our mind is how this could affect me or what precaution I should take to ensure that my business goes unaffected and how do I comply with this. That is why the notifications are issued normally in advance and ample time is given to all concerned so that the business goes on without any impediment. In this case, almost an year has passed and we should be ready with the implementation part. Already Government of India has issued many notifications, and as on today, there are more than 700 products brought under the mandatory certification through various QSC orders. Different schemes have been issued by BIS to ensure its compliance. We are not going to cover those details in this lecture. One thing we must keep in mind, resorting to compulsory certification or mandatory certification by Government of India is taken only when there are some compelling reasons behind it. These reasons are taken from the BIS Act itself. I will try to explain this also. First, let me tell you why this quality control order is slightly different from the others. Next slide. This order was issued by the Ministry of Heavy Industries on 28th August 2024, covering 20 different categories of machineries and electrical equipment based on the HSN codes. This has been already explained. The effective implementation date is 28th August 2025. This also has been explained. This QCO covers a wide range of machineries and components and sub-assemblies for the machinery, for use for machineries. The order implies that any industry manufacturing machineries in India or outside and supplying to India shall obtain a BIS certification and shall sell or store or distribute these machineries only with the authorization from BIS. As far as my understanding goes, which with the existing documents, this QCO covers almost all type of machineries which are either electric, pneumatic, or hydraulically operated. Why this QCO is different? It is because, unlike other orders, there is no specific exclusive standard applicable to any one particular machinery manufactured by you. I should be correct, isn't it? See, for all other QCOs, there is a separate specification for the product, and you can say this product complies to this standard. But in this case, there is no separate exclusive specification for any type of machinery being manufactured by you, because most of the machineries are innovation by the people, and the machineries may not be a standard one which is available in the market. So so in this case, the requirements of safety have to be derived from the listed standards, and the criteria has to be written down by the manufacturers themselves on these standards to form the complete specification. And I'll tell you how it is to be done. If you look at these requirements, that is the QC order, there would be many standards and grades applicable to one machinery, for the requirements of safety. What is applicable and what is not applicable need to be identified by the manufacturer. This makes this order as an extraordinary order compared to the other orders, compared to the earlier QC orders, and the responsibility shift more to the manufacturers, both in terms of identifying the requirements, criteria, and acceptance. This is the difference compared to the other QC orders. Since many standards are bunched into one compliance, maybe that's the reason it's called Omnibus technical order. So many standards and compliance requirements are bunched into the one bus. So it's called Omnibus technical order regulations, and the similar directives are already existing in the European market. Next. This order has been issued invoking the provisions of BIS Act Section 17, which provides any ministry to issue orders conforming to the standards if it is hazardous or dangerous to the human being or any living organisms. Protection of human, animal, or plant health and safety of the environment, or prevention of unfair trade practices are considered for mandating any particular standard in the country. So from this clause, from the Section 17 of BIS Act, any ministry can adopt or regulate any particular product or machinery which is being installed or sold in India. Authority for implementation in this particular case is given to the Bureau of Indian Standards. And under 17 of the BIS Act itself, the legal provisions prohibit any product being sold, stored, or installed in India without the compliance. And this is already told, applicable from the 28th August 2025. Next. What is required to be done by the manufacturer? Every manufacturer in India or outside shall get the BIS approval to avoid any legal complications. For obtaining the BIS approval, and application has to be filed, maybe online or offline, in advance with the BIS. And the details of application process have been already explained by my colleague. And one of the components of this application is a technical file. And I am going to deliberate more on the technical file and how to build a technical file, as well as how to build the test report of compliance. Next. One thing you must keep in mind, my slides are purely for understanding and creating a matrix of safety requirements, which will go into the technical file for the group of machineries which you identify. I would like to make a disclaimer here. The information which I am attempting to provide is based on my experience and knowledge, as well as the understanding of these standards. While this form the basis, there could be slight variation in the final guidelines, which is expected to be released from the BIS. But definitely, this is going to be the right direction in which one has to start the work. How to create a technical file? First, a technical file contain a detailed description of your product. Know your product. Yeah, we call it as KYC in India. That is, one should be able to understand clearly the product or machinery covered under the technical file. For this purpose, first create a complete description of the machinery stating its purpose, collect all the drawings, make a list of it, make a list of the components which go into the machinery and the applicable standards, if any, specific standards, if any. List down actually the manufacturing process and the flowchart of manufacturing or assembly. List down the models and the technical specification associated with. This is the primary information you collect. Now, second, now identify the similar models, because each category can have a number of series of products which are all similar, which have almost similar characteristics. This can form a group. Third, applicable standards or identified requirements of safety for your machinery can be in the form of Indian standard or international standard or your own identified requirements. In the case of machineries, it is impossible to find one exclusive standard which is applicable to all machineries, because most of the machineries are innovative products, which I mentioned to you earlier, by the manufacturers, which are not standardized machineries. So here we need to create a file containing the applicable safety requirements based on the hazards you identify, or it can play. Next. How to identify the requirements and criteria. Now I'll give you a guideline for creating and identified requirements. This is the most crucial task of preparing yourself for the certification. Instead of finding the requirements for each machine, it is better we first group the machines which has got similar physical and operational characteristics. And presently, this order contains around 20 categories, which I feel can compare into 15 main categories. So some of the categories can be grouped together. For example, actually, I have listed down 15 here, all type of liquid lifting pumps, 1, air compressors and sub-assemblies, 2, and then endothermic or exothermic reaction-based machines, centrifuges, packing and bottling machines, cranes and hoists, earth-moving equipment, textile machinery, metal cutting or forging machine, metal cutting machines, machine tools, then glass, ceramic, woodworking machines, and then all type of rubber and plastic machines, molding machines, injection molding machines, conveyors, transmission gears, motors, generators, all rotating machines in one, all type of semiconductor, speed converters, switch gears in another one. So all this, from the 20, I have actually formulated into 15, and maybe the physical, operational, installation, disposal characteristics of these 15 will be almost same. Next. How to identify the hazards. Once we have identified the groups, that is how many groups of machineries are there in your company and how many models can go into the different categories, then we need to identify the hazards associated with each group. In each group of machinery, there could be many models. All of them maybe they labeled as one group and to be listed in the group. Each group shall comply with the requirements of 16189 Type A standard. This is the primary requirement. Type A standard is applicable to all machineries. Primary focus of 16189 is on compliance to the safety requirements. If you look at the title of the standard, it is very clear that it says design, risk assessment, and risk reduction. So it focuses on the safety by design itself. That is the focus of that standard. So it is definitely applicable to all standards. And let us create a document listing all the hazards identified for each group of machine. For identifying the hazards, one may need to look into the hazards the machinery can cause and impair the safety due to its design, installation, function, operation, installation, and disposal. Okay, to do this, we need to identify specifically the hazards associated. I told you, physical, operational, components, installation, interactive, even interactive elements which can cause safety on also should be considered. For example, any malfunctioning of the interacting element can cause the machinery to be unsafe conditions, can lead to the unsafe conditions. It's also to be identified by the manufacturer. Now let us take the physical aspects. Physical aspects can be shape, design, which can cause any problem to the users. The contours, projections, height can impair the safety. Also, the materials used, what type of materials used, the heat resistance or fire protection materials, protection against ingress of dust and moisture, ergonomics of design, and type of technology used, all this will come under the physical aspects. So first, actually identify the hazards, physical hazards, which can be any one of these. Actually, I have given only some of the examples, but you can find even little more. You can find much more than that. Now you let us look at the operational safety. Next slide. Operational safety can be safety due to the noise, vibration, emissions, physical contacts, electrical hazards, hydraulic and pneumatic hazards, control system malfunction, interlocking functions, safety in abnormal operation, safety against misuses. These are some of the examples which I have listed down. But a manufacturer will definitely know that as far as the design, operation, or installation or component level, what could be the hazard which it can play in the operation of the machine. So they should be able to identify all those physical, operational, and the component level characteristics, hazards which it can play. Interactive process can also be a factor, such as the effect on other machines, influence on safety, unauthorized person access, space for movement of material and personnel, safety due to overloading of machines, emergency controls, power supply safety, whereas component level safety can also include something more. Safety, next. Component level safety, next. Safety by design of the component, such as fail-safe mechanism. Fail-safe mechanism means it doesn't matter actually when it fails, when a machine fails. But when it fails, it has to be fail-safe. This is possible only if it is designed to be safe. These are the safety principles how to be built into the machineries, which have to be identified by the manufacturer. Incompatibility, hardware and software malfunctioning, and which can cause the safety, which can make it unsafe, and sensors, which is malfunctioning, which causes safety or the people who are approaching or using. These are the component level safety. Installation safety can also include improper instructions, improper installations, and in handling. Safe disposal of the machinery is also important as far as the safety is concerned. Whenever an equipment component, it is disposed of, like a nuclear machine, when it is disposed also, that it should not be harmful to the people who can come near to that and get affected. Once you complete the identification of the hazards in all the levels, physical, operational, installation, disposal, etc., then you must identify the risk level of risk associated with it. This can be done by the severity of the hazard and also based on the frequency of hazard. Okay. These risks shall be classified as significant, non-significant, or you need to have a procedure to identify the significant one and non-significant one. And this is required to identify the mitigation aspects. Once you identify the different type of risk from the hazards, then you must document the mitigation aspects. For example, if you have identified high-speed rotating machinery, then which can cause a problem to the people who are nearby or operating, then the risk associated could be a significant one, then it has to be completely eliminated. By elimination is possible only by maybe by using the guards against the rotating machineries, or designing the equipment in such a way that the high speed rotation is inaccessible to people who approach the machine or operating the machine. So one is by design, the other is actually by taking additional protection so that the safety is completely covered. But the requirements, the hazards which it can play, and the risk associated with it is the level of risk and the mitigation aspects have to be identified by the manufacturers themselves. That is one of the basic document has to be built by the manufacturer. Now that you identified the hazard, risk mitigation control, next step is to document the methods of verification of these mitigation controls. How effective is the controls which you have seen, or how effective is the protection you have given to that machine, or the design safety which you have taken care, how effective. So for that purpose, you need to identify a test method. A test method could be from one of the type B standards if it is available, or you should be able to find any other international or national standard available. If not, you should be able to document the test method for testing that, or testing the veracity, or the ability of the design aspect or the safety aspect you have taken care. If there is no international standard or method, then you should look for standards in the Type B schedule which may fit in. Design safety can be verified by inducing failures. Similarly, behavior of a machine in unexpected conditions such as overvoltage, undervoltage, or deliberate misuse of machine should also be covered to see whether even in deliberate misuse, the machine is safe. Keeping it in mind, it doesn't matter. I told you earlier, one of the principles of safety is it doesn't matter if it doesn't work, but it should fail safe. That is one of the basic principles of safety. This has to be built into that. Once this document is ready, then that is your hazard identification, risk metrics, and the level of risk associated, the mitigation and the controls you exercised is identified along with the test method for verification and the criteria of conformity. If you have identified this document, we should go for a safety metrics table. A safety metrics table, this is a general document which I told you earlier, is a generic document. And this generic document can be referred to all the machineries in a particular category or a group. And that is the one, actually, these two will form the one of the basic documents of the technical file. And with these two documents, most probably, in my feeling, my understanding, that there could not be any independent laboratory to be approved for this purpose. It would be only factory testing is possible, because unless there is an Indian standard, it is not possible for BIS to approve any laboratory. But in this case, it's a generic standard and the requirements are identified by the manufacturer or a person who is assembling it. And then that document will form the basis for carrying out the testing. And that type of facility may not be available, or that cannot be used for approving a laboratory. So most probably, my understanding is, I again emphasize all these points actually based on my understanding and knowledge. This could be the way actually that these Omnibus technical regulation implementation may turn out. So factory testing only will be carried out, and it will be carried out in the presence of an officer against the documented criteria covering all the requirements. So this is what I would like to tell you, that maybe when we have more detailed information from BIS, or when we are more clear about it, or the questions which we are not able to answer, we will collect all those information and maybe we'll have a follow-up lecture later on. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you, Vincular, for inviting me for this lecture. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mr. Verghese, for that excellent overview. I hope this session was instrumental for all our attendees joining us from across geographies in the world in understanding the complex nature of OTR regulation for heavy machineries. Next slide, please. So as we approach to the close of this session, let me help by my attendees take through as to why more and more global as well as local brands are choosing Vincular as their compliance partner in India. So we manage everything end to end, from regulatory planning and factory audits to document vetting and liaison with BIS. Our domain experts and on-ground team ensures no rework or rejection. We stay updated with all new circulars and notifications, ensuring your applications are always aligned. Vincular has a strong track record with Scheme 1, Scheme 10, and even complex OTR cases. With Pan India presence, we offer local lab coordination and factory support nationwide. Simply put, we make compliance easy, fast, and reliable. Now I understand this scheme packs so much that we were not able to conclude it in stipulated time, but we have gotten few important questions in our chat box from our attendees, and if if it is okay, I'll take a couple of questions to address with my learned speakers today. Can I take the first question? Okay, so the question here is, what are the rules and regulations for using the standard mark under Scheme 10 or OTR regulation? I would like to ask Mr. Gaurav to kindly take this question up. Mr. Gaurav.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Abhinav. Could you just repeat the question once again?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll repeat the question. So the question has been asked is, what are the rules and requirements for using the standard mark under this Scheme 10 or OTR regulation?
Okay. So again, if we refer the BIS Scheme X guidance document, so there they clearly mention the standard mark, which I have just shown to you. I would request the presenter if he can take it to my second last slide. So it is also good to know that Mr. Varghese Joy has the person who has designed this logo, and the same logo is being followed by BIS for their Scheme 2 products, for their CRS scheme products, and the same logo is being replicated for this Scheme X products as well. So as far as the
I make a correction here. I was not the person who designed it, but actually I was the person who was coordinating to get it designed from the National Institute of Fashion Technology. This.
Okay, thank you for the correction, sir. And as far as the question is concerned, so basically the standard mark has to be followed on the top of it. The Indian standard has to be there. Then comes the standard mark, followed by the license number with initial as L hyphen the license number with the website reference as www.bis.gov.in. So this should be the way to replicate the standard mark. Thank you.
If you can display that standard mark, I think we can give one or two inputs to the.
So I'll request if the presenter can go back to Gaurav's slide where the standard mark was the topic, please. Thank you.
Gaurav, you may like to explain actually what is this picture signifies.
Okay. So basically, when this logo was rolled out, so Scheme 2, we all know it's a self-declaration scheme. So it is equally important that the same messaging has to be conveyed to the general public. So if you try to see, there is a S. So in blue color and red color, if you connect both the figures, you will find an image with S. And if you see both the letters independently in blue and red, you will find a depiction as D. And that's how it fulfills the intent of BIS as S and D self declaration. And that was the intent, or that was the logic while designing this logo. Sir, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, if you invert this figure also, you get invert this figure and then merge the blue and then red together. Then also you get the same S and D together. So in any way you look at it, that the figure remains same, and it is one of the easiest one to put it on the products. That is one which we have looked into. So and not a very complex mark which people will find it difficult to put it on the products. So I think this was a competition was held by BIS, and in that actually National Institute of Fashion Technology Chennai won the prize, and we have given a huge prize money for giving this mark and selected by the people who are in the selection board in BIS. So thanks for giving an opportunity to explain this standard declaration mark, self-declaration mark. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. And we are glad that you are part of our discussion today. Now let me take one more question. So I'll address this to you, sir, only. So the question is, in the case of multiple technical files for different machinery groups or models, can common documents be submitted once with cross references, or must they be duplicated in each file?
Shall I tell? Uh, shall I answer this question?
Please, yes, sir.
Yeah, actually, as I explained earlier in my on presentation, that once you identify the similar machines based on their physical, operational, or installation characteristics, actually a series of machines may form into one group. There could be under that each machine, actually there could be many models also. So there could be a huge number of machines in one group which can have one sort of file, one file, and you only have to give the reference number of the model or the machine number in that for the same document. That's enough. We can do it right.
Great. Thank you for that answer, sir. So now, yeah, we have received so many more questions, which we might not be able to take up due to time constraints. However, you shall expect a follow-up session or email communication from us answering these questions. So that brings us to the end of today's webinar. Please stay tuned for our upcoming webinars and newsletters. We look forward to welcome you again soon. Yeah, last slide, please. On behalf of the entire Vincular team, thank you all for your time and active participation. We hope you found the session valuable and informative. Should you need assistance with your ongoing or upcoming certifications under BIS Scheme 10 or OTR, feel free to reach us directly. We'll be happy to support you. Until next time, I'd like to say stay compliant and stay ahead. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.